The talk of the town has been the Florida State Seminoles and whether or not they are going to be leaving the ACC eventually because they are not happy with the current financial situation in the league. To talk about it today, I brought on a special guest who knows a lot more about the situation than I do. His name is Chris, and he's from Sideline Sports Network, Spear Addicts. How you doing, Chris?
Pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you coming on my show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
So, real quick before we dive into the meat of this, man, tell my listeners and viewers where they can find you at.
Yes, so if you want to find any of my content, you can go to @SpearAddicts, whether that be YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. You can find everything that I do there. I also run a Florida State page for Sideline Sports Network on Twitter. So that would be SSN_Seminoles, and you'll find me.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And for those of you who are listening, it's at Spear Addicts, SPEARATICS. For those of you watching, it's up on the screen now and also scrolling at the bottom. So let's dive right in, man, and get to the juicy stuff. The comments last week from Michael Alford, the AD at Florida State, kind of has everybody talking about maybe the ACC is the next conference to feel some problems and kind of feel the tremors of realignment, so to speak. And it's obvious Florida State is not happy. Now, Clemson's obviously not happy either. But from a Florida State perspective, man, first off, were you surprised to hear those comments by Mr. Alford?
To be completely honest with you, in a way, yes, I was surprised because I wasn't expecting him to do it technically that day. Was I expecting it soon? Yes. I've been talking about Florida State in a realignment for the past 2 years.
Yeah. And we've all seen, there's been rumors out there, matter of fact, as soon as Texas and Oklahoma announced they were leaving to the SEC, rumors start flying. And of course the USC UCLA thing happened, then it gets worse. So I'm like you, I wasn't surprised that it happened because, some of the rumors we were hearing were coming from pretty good sources, people that should be in the know, right?
Yes, sir.
But I was surprised that it was so public. That's what surprised me about it. The fact that they released that to the public because, they had to give permission to release that, which means they wanted people to hear it, number one. So, yeah, and, most of these deals and these things always happen behind closed doors. So I was really surprised to see that come out publicly. That's what surprised me about it.
Yes, sir. And, today around 7, they had the ACC town hall, which was with all the athletic directors in the ACC. I don't know how public that one was made, but I would imagine that was the key focal of the conversation that happened tonight. Kind of jumping right into this, so everyone knows, I don't care if Florida State ends up in the SEC or if they end up in the Big Ten. But I will say that my full projection, everything that I have put together, everything that I have heard, I've got Florida State going to the Big Ten. And I also have predicted that will be announced by 2025. So everybody knows where I'm at with this. That's what I've projected, and I'm sticking by that until I'm wrong.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. I was actually going to be my next question, so you beat me to it. I was going to ask you, do you think it'll be soon, or do you think it'll be closer to that 2030, 2031 date when all these other TV contracts and stuff start coming out for bid again? But obviously you think it's going to be much sooner than that.
Yes, sir. And then the reason that I believe that it's much sooner is because I don't think that Florida State would have made this as public as they did if they didn't feel like their lawyers had found loopholes / performance clauses in there from the ACC. I've read over the grant of rights deal for the ACC probably 7 or 8 times now. And there are performance loopholes, so to say, in the contract. My whole thing is that I don't want to see Florida State leave the ACC, so to speak. I would rather the ACC to find a way to fix the situation. The problem is I don't see it. I don't see how they could. I don't see why ESPN would step up and say, let's go ahead and renegotiate this situation. Why would you? When no one in the ACC other than Florida State and Clemson and a little bit of Miami, do they project large enough numbers for you to pay a whole lot more? You're getting Florida State and Miami, because this is what I keep hearing from Florida State fans and Miami fans and Clemson fans. Well, they're getting us at a bargain. That may be true, but does that bargain even out when you talk about the other schools that are, what viewership they get? I still don't think ESPN is making a whole lot of money off of the ACC, because if they were, we wouldn't see MyPillow commercials on the ACC network.
When you talk about the money, this obviously is a huge sticking point, and you said you think there are quote unquote performance incentives or loopholes, whatever you want to call it, in there. What about an unequal revenue sharing? Because I know that's kind of something offered. Would that not be something that Florida State would live with if they put in something with an unequal revenue share or something like that? Or do you think that's not going to happen because the other schools will probably not allow it?
So I've got two scenarios on that. One, I think that it would buy the ACC time with Florida State and Clemson, that they would stick around for a few more years, which only benefits Florida State and Clemson, to be honest, because, the closer you get to that contract renewal, the cheaper it is to get out of the conference. But Florida State and Clemson are now going to start demanding more money now, or finding a way to get more money now. But I don't think that the other schools are going to say, you know what, let's give Clemson, Florida State, and Miami 3.5% more of, take 3.5% from each other school and give it to these other three schools. I don't see any schools giving up the revenue that they've already got budgeted. They've already budgeted how they're going to spend this. They've already budgeted why, this, that, or the other. And then there's other things that fall into place other than just viewership. You've got things that, these other ACC schools bring to the conference other than just viewership. They've got better academics at some schools than Florida State does. Florida State's great. They're way up there. Mm-hmm. There are schools that are in the ACC that do a better job in fashions of that. But I do agree with Michael Alford 100% that Florida State can't go for the next, 12 to 13 years losing or not being able to match $30 million per year of what your peers are going to be making. So Florida State, what's best for Florida State is to get out of the conference. But that comes with a large buyout price. Or it comes with how long are your lawyers going to keep the ACC in court until you come up with this amount of money, or how much would you negotiate it down to and settle out of court for? All those things come into questions. But I think Florida State's more geared to that. I think that's the route that Florida State's going to go. They will end up, so to speak, challenging and or suing the ACC for the money and find the loopholes and play that out in court. And then that's why I believe in 2025 there will be an announcement that Florida State is entering into the Big Ten.
Big Ten.
The big thing is Florida State have to get the AAU membership. That has to happen. I believe that they will. And this is the reason why I said that they were going into the Big Ten versus the SEC, because you do not have to be an AAU member to get into the SEC. Everything that we have done up to this point is proven that we're trying to become an AAU member. First off, you hire President McCullough, which was the president of Harvard, which was an AAU member. So he's very, endowed on how we become an AAU member. Then you hire Michael Alford, which at the time, before the commissioner was gone from the Big Ten, Michael Alford and the commissioner of the Big Ten were really good friends.
Okay.
So those two things played a huge part in it. And then Florida State jumps up and announces that they're building this new medical research facility. And then Florida State also has the largest magnet in the world that they do research with already. And just to create more revenue as far as research goes, to be an AAU member is when they decided they were going to build the medical research facility. And then they topped it off with our engineering school, Civil-wise, is going to jump into some real big in-depth research with seismic studies as far as engineering goes. So all of those things, I don't understand why Florida State would be doing those if they weren't trying to attract the AAU membership and also become a Big Ten member.